welcome back to my channel. Glad you could join me. Today I want to talk about editing Milky Way photos and the pros and cons between stacking a set of Milky Way images into a single image or just editing a single image. Now there's quite a lot of photographers that state that using a program like Sequator to stack a certain amount of Milky Way images will give you a better result. And if you look on YouTube, some of the thumbnails look like this, for and against. No stacking, stacking. And you can see there is a big difference. But this is very misleading, because if you know what you're doing in Adobe Lightroom, then you can actually get a very similar image. Like this one here. Can you tell which one is stacked and which one isn't stacked? Not really, unless I told you which one was stacked and which one wasn't stacked. They look very similar. And this is my point. Now before people start posting negative comments, hear me out. I've been photographing the night sky since 2013, 8 years. I feel that I do know what I am talking about. Now I should make it clear that normally I do not use a program like Sequator to stack my Milky Way images. I normally just do a single image, and I edit my photos in Adobe Lightroom and then use the Nik plugins to enhance the Milky Way. The most that I will do is, if there's a very nice foreground, I will use a long exposure for the foreground and then take the normal Milky Way exposure between 15 and 20 seconds, edit the two of them and then blend them in Photoshop. And that's where I stop. I'm not saying that stacking is wrong, I'm just saying this is what I do. Before people start saying or thinking that I'm bagging Sequator, it can't do a good job. It does do a good job, but to me, I don't find any added value. And as we go on the tutorial here, you'll see what I mean. Now because I don't use Sequator, before I did this tutorial, I spent 4 to 5 days just looking at the tutorials on using Sequator on YouTube and having a very good play with this program so that I could actually give it its best. I didn't want to say, well, this program isn't good, look at the results. I tried my best to get the best results from Sequator. Now all the images that I will show you have been edited identically in Adobe Lightroom, in Nik Color Efex and in Nik Viveza to enhance the Milky Way. Then the 10 stacked images will be stacked in Sequator to give us the final image, and then we'll compare the 10 stacked images against the single image. Let's dive into Adobe Lightroom now. Now there's 11 images here. The first image I've duplicated so that I've called it unstacked, and then its partner is called stacked. So I've got 10 stacked images and one unstacked image. And you can see here that they've all been cropped to 8 by 10. The reason I have cropped them to 8 by 10 is just to give us more field of view of the Milky Way and of this mountain, because this was taken about 3 weeks ago on the Sunshine Coast hinterland and the Glasshouse Mountains, and the Milky Way was already quite low in the sky. So I decided to crop it to 8 by 10 just so that we would see more of the Milky Way and more of the foreground. So this is the unstacked image here. So to save time on this tutorial, I've already edited all these images exactly the same. All these settings here have been applied identically across all the images. Now I've done this so that people can't say, well, you've edited the unstacked image more than you've edited the stacked image. Everything has been edited exactly the same. So we select all the images and we open up Color Efex Pro 4. Now I like Color Efex Pro because I can build recipes. So I have recipes for my wildlife images, for my landscape images, and also for my nightscape images, my Milky Way image. So we can see up the top here we have the 000 underscore Milky Way. So that's one of my Milky Way presets. So I click on it and you can see here all I've done is I've got the tonal contrast. So I've added a bit of contrast to my midtones, a bit to my shadows, and I've reduced the contrast in my highlights. And then in the brilliance and warmth, I've just added a bit of warmth and a bit of saturation. So if we come up here to compare, so this is before and this is after. All I do now is come down the bottom here and I just click next, and I'll run through the 11 and then we'll go back into Adobe Lightroom. Now I'm going to save all these images and they will be brought back into Adobe Lightroom as 8-bit TIFF files. our 11 images have been brought back into Adobe Lightroom. We're in the library module now so that you can see all the files, and they're all highlighted. You can see one of two, so these are the second ones. These are all our TIFF files. Now I will export them again into Nik Viveza just to enhance the Milky Way. So we right click on them, we come back up here to edit in, and we click on Viveza 3. Same thing, 8-bit, edit. So now we're in Nik Viveza, and I come down to the bottom here, see where the custom is? I click on that, and it shows me there's 3 recipes that I've already created for the Milky Way. And the recipe that I want, the preset, is number 3 here. And if I click on it here, can you see the circles? These are showing where I'm actually just editing. I'm leaving the rest of the image alone. So I'm just enhancing the Milky Way. This is so good. And if we come down here, you can see here, I've added a bit of luminance. I haven't added any brightness. I've added some contrast, some saturation, some structure. Structure just brings the Milky Way out, the core. It just makes it pop a bit. I've added some shadow. I've reduced a bit of the warmth. At this time of the year, in the Glasshouse Mountains, it's actually quite bluish. I didn't want to make it overly warm. Some places the sky is a bit warmer. Here on the Sunshine Coast hinterland, we have a very bluish sky, so I wanted to replicate that. So I'm very happy with this. Now all I do is just click on apply all, and this preset will be applied to all of my images. I click apply all. Now it's just going to save all my images. So now all our images are back in Adobe Lightroom, and we have 3 images for each image. We have the original DNG file that we edited in Adobe Lightroom. We have the first TIFF file which was edited in Color Efex Pro. Then we have the second TIFF file which we edited in Nik Viveza. So now I'll unclick all the images, and I'll only select the stacked images, save them as TIFF files, and then open up Sequator. Now we open up Sequator, and this is what Sequator looks like. This is the latest version. So we up the top left here, we have star images. We double click on star images. Here are our files. We select them all, click open. Down here on output, you see it's red. We've got to choose where we want the output file and the name of the output file. So I will just click on D500 stack, and I'll call it final. Now down the bottom here is where all the fun starts happening. We have composition align. We double click that. In composition align stars, you have to make sure that you click align stars and freeze ground. Then you have sky region, and we click on irregular mask auxiliary highlight. Can you see on the image here, I've actually got a circle. Watch what happens when I start painting it. Can you see it's all green? You have to paint just about the whole sky. This will actually tell Sequator that this is the area that it has to merge together. It has to blend all these images, and it doesn't touch the red areas. And if you use your mouse, you can actually make your brush much smaller. You can see I've just touched the mountain here. If I just use the right thumb click here, I can just delete that, because I don't want the foreground highlighted there. Now I can just keep painting the sky. This is a must do. You have to do this. That's done. And this is the only parts that I touch. After watching all the YouTube video tutorials that I've watched, this is the consensus, that all the rest you leave alone. There is one here where it says remove dynamic noises. I've tried 4 times, twice with it off, twice with it on, and I have found no difference at all on my images anyway. So it's something you can try, see if you actually get better with it on or with it off, but I found that I just leave all these rest off. Now all I do is click on start, and it's very quick. Done. How quick was that? Now the image has been saved. So this is our image here, and if we go into 100%, it looks really nice. But this is the one thing that I have found, that even though it stacked them very well, blended them very well, there's no star trailing at all. What it's done, it's removed too much of the noise for me, for my liking anyway. If we look at the mountain here, the mountain looks blurred instead of sharpness. I would rather have a little bit of noise and seeing some details in the mountain. Because look at the sky, there's just no noise at all, but it's actually just softened it up a little bit. Now let's just finish off the single image in Adobe Lightroom. So this is the single image here. I didn't use Nik Define in the other images. For my single images, I used Nik Define, and this is a noise reduction plugin. I don't use the noise reduction in Adobe Lightroom. I find it's too broad and it just smooths out my Milky Way images too much. So we click on the image, we click edit, and we go on Nik Define. Edit, Nik Define will pop up. Now you can see it's actually done it already. But if I look down the bottom here, if I scroll around the mountain, can you see right down the bottom on the loop here? It's smoothed it out too much. So normally I come up here to reduce, I just bring it down to about 85%, or as close as I can get to around 85%. Now if I go around the mountain, that's it. There's a little bit of noise in the sky, but I've got much more detail in the mountain. So I click save. Here are our two Milky Way images. On the left side we have the unstacked image, single image edited in Adobe Lightroom, Nik Color Efex Pro, Nik Viveza, and the noise was removed with Nik Define. On the right hand side we have our 10 images which were also edited in Adobe Lightroom, Nik Color Efex Pro, Nik Viveza, and then stacked in Sequator. Now some of the tutorials state that you do all your stacking before you do too much editing. I have found no difference whether I apply all my editing before I stack or after I stack. It doesn't make a difference. I still end up with the same thing. So I find if you're going to stack the images, then do all your editing and then stack them at the end so that you've got your finished product. And this way, if you've induced more noise with your editing, then Sequator will remove most of that noise as well. We look on the left hand image here, I'll zoom into 100%, same with the right here, and if you look, they're very similar. You can see the left hand image, the unstacked, has got a little bit more noise, but if we move down a little bit, I find that if you look on the mountain here, the mountain is just softened up just that little bit. But I'd have to say that in reality, both of them look very, very similar. To me, it takes so much more effort to use Sequator just like for maybe an extra 5%. Now sometimes when I've done this trial, I've found that the noise has been reduced too much and I've ended up with a very soft image. This time it's worked out that both of them are very similar. So you be the judge. Is it worth using Sequator for maybe an extra 10%? To me personally, it's not, because most of the time all I'm sharing is my photos on social media. The images are so small that you will not see the difference. If I was printing an image, maybe I would think about using Sequator, but then that means that I've got to remember to take at least 10 images to stack them together. So thanks for watching. If you've got any comments, leave it down below. I'm quite open to hearing other people's thoughts on it. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, stay safe, enjoy your Nightscape photography, and I'll see you next time.